What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and I'm here to let you know that Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn is no perfect movie. And it centers around Harley dealing with the downside of being dumped by the Joker. Yes, there is one huge glaring downside, which is that no one can protect her from the cops or other criminals that he made enemies with, particularly a crime boss known as Black Mask, played by Ewan McGregor. But when she finds out that there are several other women on his radar, Huntress, Renee Montoya, Black Canary, and especially Cassandra Cain, she decides to team up with them in order to survive. And I gotta say, I seem to be one of the only people who was excited about this movie from the get go. I love the trailers, I love the casting, the fact that they got an indie director to, come into a big budget movie and make it their own. And I was really amazed by how awesome the action scenes looked. And upon having walked out of the movie, all those things delivered, and then some. There are flaws, and they're the same flaws that you've probably heard in every review by now, but honestly, it was still worth it for me. The acting was a lot of fun to watch. It features a Gotham City that is incredibly over the top, and so are the performances. It's just part of the world that the writer and director have created, but because these actors have really good comedic timing, they make it work. Margot Robbie, as you would expect, was fantabulous as Harley Quinn. She once again nailed the accent. Her stunt work has improved greatly since Suicide Squad. More on that later. And out of all the other team members in Birds of Prey, I like the chemistry that she had with Cassandra Cain the most because they have the most screen time together. Jay Basco makes a really good feature debut as Cassandra Cain. And a fun little factoid, she is actually the niece of Dante Bosco from Avatar, American Dragon, and Hook. No real reason to bring it up, I thought that was cool. Jurnee Smollett-Bell is probably the most natural and serious of the birds, and it kind of makes sense for her to be that because she has to experience some of the more crazier shit on her own and react to it in a certain way that really makes you feel the stakes of the story. And it was necessary to have a straight man or straight woman, whatever the fucking PC term is, in the group in order to establish that there are really legitimately serious things going on despite the humorous aspects of the plot. So it was nice to feature her as the straight lead. She was as badass as everybody else. So was Rosie Perez, even though she is technically the corniest because her Bronx accent is actually thicker than Robbie's, and she has this really exaggerated manner of speak that becomes a huge running gag throughout the movie. But honestly, it actually was what made her charming as this stereotypical cop who's overlooked by everybody else. And the movie points out that you've seen cops like that before, and it points out why we root for them in the first place. Because they're doing the right thing and they will do anything, even break the law, in order to accomplish helping other people. And I gotta say, Ewan McGregor as Black Mask and Chris Messina as Mr. Zsasz just looked like they were having a blast. They offset each other very nicely, with McGregor being the loudmouth boss, Messina being the quiet henchman who gives these really exaggerated expressions to really show that he's sadistic and doesn't like anybody around him. And I kind of gravitated toward that more than McGregor, who was funny for being just spoiled and pathetic with the fact that he has everything at his disposal and he's just such a man-child all the time. But I didn't find him as creepy as I was hoping or as much as I thought the movie wanted us to feel, because there are a couple scenes where you are supposed to look at what he's doing and go, holy shit, what the fuck are you doing? But there are two things that I think could have been improved to make him like a menacing and funny villain. One, I would have liked him to see him do like more hands-on stuff when he's being really fucked up, because that's more of a Messina thing as Mr. Zsasz, and that's another reason why I gravitated to that more. And the second reason is, for a guy who's called Black Mask, he probably only wears it like 2 or 3 times, and they don't really even do anything with it. But now on to the main event of this movie, the thing that I think everyone should see in the theater just for it, the action. The action is fucking amazing, especially two fights, one in a police station and another in the funhouse that you keep seeing in the trailer. My jaw was on the floor the entire time during those moments. Props to Cathy Yan as the director, all of the lead actors, and their stunt doubles, because there are clearly some shots where all the main leads are doing their own punches and kicks and everything like that. The cinematography, the editing, they all feature practical set pieces where the actors use everything around them as a weapon to their fullest advantage. No shaky cam whatsoever, no quick cutting whatsoever. This is not only a big accomplishment for a comic book movie, for someone who's just getting into big budget movies, but just as a movie in general. It's becoming a cliche to say something like this is John Wick level action, but it's true. And the director of John Wick, Chad Stahelski, did have some behind the scenes aspects of it on his part. He was second unit director for the reshoots. He does have a cameo in the movie, just like he had a cameo in the first John Wick. And honestly, I don't know how much he contributed to it, but honestly, it was well worth it. It really doesn't matter who contributed to it. It really matters what we see on screen. And what we saw on screen was outstanding and made me forgive any of the real flaws that I have with the movie. And the main flaws, like everybody else says, is with the script and how there really isn't that much character depth to it. And I know most of us go to this movie not really to see that, but to see the spectacle of it. And the spectacle of it was really good. Cathy Yan has a really nice style. She likes to incorporate flashbacks and present day in like what appear to be single takes, and she does a really good job with that. It has this very self-referential style of narration with Margot Robbie that I wasn't entirely anticipating because I'm not a big narration fan. But honestly, it wasn't like pretending to be deep narration. It was just like stream of consciousness, just blurting out whatever she had on her mind. That being said, the script really is just exposition overload, and it's not that the characters are given like no backstories whatsoever. It's just they're told through dialogue and standard coverage as opposed to us really living through the experiences. They try to make us live the experiences with flashback montages, and they were cool to watch, but they didn't really make me feel the more tragic elements to it because these characters all have tragic pasts that you could like weave together and make it feel like, oh, they all have been through similar shit. They should really get together. And I didn't really feel like them banding together was because they had a lot in common, but was more of a basic need. It was still cool. It was still fun to watch, but I would have liked maybe a little meat on it, especially for Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress, because don't get me wrong, she was really good in the movie, and I like the sense of humor that they give where she tries to be the serious one and fails miserably, but she has some of the more tragic elements to her past that kind of overshadow other characters who are in the movie a lot longer than her, especially Renee Montoya, who is just a standard cop, or Cassandra Cain, who's a standard orphan thief, but if I gotta be honest, I kind of like the orphan thief trope for whatever reason. I don't know, I just kind of find it fun sometimes. But in the long run, Birds of Prey is a 3.5 out of 5 movie with 6 out of 5 elements. The action scenes and the choreography and the fluidity of the camera work and editing was worth the price ticket alone, especially with the talented and dedicated actors. Margot Robbie, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Rosie Perez, Jurnee Smollett-Bell, Jay Basco, Ewan McGregor, Chris Messina. They were all really good, even though they didn't have a ton going for it. And for that reason, I'm going to give Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Well, you already heard my grading, so fuck it. By the way, if you're wondering, do not wait around for the credits. There's really nothing to wait for. Trust me. Guys, thanks as always for watching. Be sure to let me know what you thought of Birds of Prey if you've already seen it, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.